Welcome aboard the 4 to 7 pod, part of the Ascension Podcast Network. I'm Chris, and I'm joined with, the ghost of Jerry. Uh, we have a
Good evening.
paper bag-headed man here. Not sure what happened to Jerry. He may have been kidnapped, but we have,
I'm in witness protection.
we have this figure with us here now. And obviously, I don't want to, don't want to waste too much time on formalities, and I don't want to make you I don't want to have to make you bottle up your emotions, for like the whole first half of the pod. So let's just get right into it, man. The Mets missed the playoffs. 2025 MLB regular season ended today. The Mets have completed their 3.5 month long collapse. Where they at one point they were I think in like late May they were the best team in Major League Baseball, and ever since the middle of June, they have been playing mostly piss poor baseball with a few blips on the radar in between, and it all ends today. The Reds lose, so the Mets actually had a chance to go and just win a game against the Miami Marlins and you get in. But they lose 4-0. Could not muster a run. Left, I believe, 8 runners in scoring position. Left 10 runners on base. Just not good. Not good at all. It'll definitely go down. Probably it has to go down, as I would say, probably one of the top 3 collapses, if not the top 1 collapse in Mets history. Given the expectations, given the circumstances, given the roster, when you factor in everything, it's definitely a top 3. But I think it has a case to be the greatest collapse in the history of the Mets franchise.
I have to disagree with that. It's still 2007 because when you're up 7.5 with 17 to play, like you got to win that. That can't happen.
That's fair. That's fair. If you, I feel like 07 is. I feel like it's like 07. This is probably a greater collapse than 08, though.
This feels like a longer version of 08 because as 08 unfolded, you could kind of tell that they're not even as good as they were in 07.
And and you could tell it was like going in the same direction.
Like you were in 08, you were hoping that team had just had enough to get to the line. Like I didn't think that team was winning a World Series or anything. Like we knew even by the time they got to September that year that it's like, okay, this bullpen's terrible. The starting rotation's got 2 good pitchers and that's it. And hopefully you can out hit everybody. And damn if that's not familiar to this year. This one, I mean, I know people are going to say it's a collapse because, we went from where we were in June and people will point to the playoff odds and whatever. But, this just felt like it had been coming really since maybe right after the All-Star break. When they had that stretch, it was when the West Coast stretch happened out in San Francisco or not even San Francisco because they had the 7-0 stretch. But starting with that San Diego series and when they just got their doors blown off by the Padres, it just seemed like they never got off the mat from that.
No,
I mean they would have a couple of stretches where they go 6-8, but you never felt like they totally got it right. You felt like okay, they're back on track, things are fine. You always felt like there was something else lurking around the corner, and
I think like the 2024 Mets. You were thinking that it's like all right, we have like all this we have all this magic, like it's like basically a lot of the same team as last year plus Juan Soto. Eventually this team has to turn it on.
Well, and I'll stand here and say this: I don't think this is on the offense. And I know people will look and say, "Well, they didn't score today," and they certainly had stretches this season where they were silent. But
I don't think I don't think you can blame like most of the collapse on the offense. Although it is a very top heavy offense, and you really didn't get after your first 4 or 5 hitters down the stretch. You really didn't get much help at all.
Well, I will say. Francisco Alvarez is spared from slander from this because that dude's out there still swinging a pretty good bat with like 8 functional fingers. I'm not gonna knock him because I knew that dude was in pain and he was still out here. Like one of the biggest hits of this past week was the home run in Wrigley Field, and he did that. So
yep, yeah, around that time it felt like, all right, like they're gonna fiend, they'll at least hold the Reds off. I thought after that game,
it's still like once we got to this weekend, it was okay. That Marlins series is gonna mean something. Like just in the back of your head, you knew.
yeah,
and
yeah, I know we were, like we were even talking about it the other day because behind the scenes we were thinking about we were thinking about recording Thursday and then decided let's push it to Sunday. We'll let the regular season end and then we can really talk about everything. So
I do want to say though, I had pretty much been someone who was of the belief that I thought Carlos Mendoza was mostly fine, and I did not think that he was a net negative. And I also was of the belief that you don't fire him because that would be another manager gone after 2 years. And if after a while, if that keeps happening, who's going to take the job? If you keep letting people go after 2 years, which Mickey Callaway's thing was different because there was sex pest stuff that came out with him, so that's different.
You have to do that for
the fact that no Met manager has lasted beyond 2 years since Terry Collins is pretty damning. But I think I've officially reached that point today because yes, the offense did not score, but I truly believe the game was lost because Carlos Mendoza wanted to be Dave Roberts out there, just making moves for no reason.
Just for the sake of it. Like
Brooks Raley was mowing the Marlins down. Why did he have to come out of the game for Ryan Stanek? Tyler Rogers is one of your better relievers. Why is he coming in the 4th inning? Why is Edwin Diaz pitching in the 4th and 5th inning? Let's just say the Mets came back in the 9th inning there, Chris, and it's a 5-4 game. Who's closing that game now? You're going to call on Dylan Ross, the kid that you just brought up? Like, what's the move?
You asking for an inning out of Nolan McLean?
Yeah.
Like, is it all hands on deck? I mean,
and then you need him to be your game 1 starter on Tuesday. Like, that was a shameful performance. That was making moves just to show people that you were in charge.
Just for the sake of it.
Fire Mendoza for that. I would not disagree.
I think they would be well within their rights. What I was going to say, not that it really matters, was like, we were talking about, when we decided to reschedule and we were talking about the upcoming weekend. And you had said that, you were going to have some work stuff to do like Friday and Saturday. So you wouldn't really be able to tune in all that much for your work covering, the college teams that you cover. And then, I asked if you had planned on going to the game on Sunday because I know that at different times, like you had mentioned that like if you were free, that that might you might be able to make it to like one of those games or something. I think, and then you were just like, God no, like
no, I
just
did not want to be there for that. That's
I know what you mean. Just not a good day to be in public, and I think you made the right move staying home. But I think Mendoza does need to go. I think Mendoza does need to go. I think that the Mets would be it would be a reasonable move to fire him. I think when something like that does happen, when you have a collapse of this proportions, this proportion, and he goes out the way he did in this game where, like you said, he's just making moves basically just for the sake of making moves. And then, Brian Raleigh gave up 1 run and then he decided to take him out.
Well, I think Raley put up a 0.
Well, I think he had a run. Oh, you know what? I think he had a run charged to him though.
He was already out.
Yeah, he was out, and then so that didn't make sense. I don't know. If he was trying to like match up? Was he trying to like match up like lefties and righties or something, or was he just being a jackass?
I mean, for all I know, he may have been trying to match up lefties and righties, but to be doing that in the 3rd in fourth inning of a game that's still 0-0, will never make sense to me. That's
Yeah,
really
like
too early to be playing that. Like, if
yeah,
you
like
didn't want Manaea to have to face the Marlins lineup the second time through or a third time through, fine.
that
I
makes
can get with
sense.
that. I totally understand that. But
Yeah, I was gonna ask if he got hurt or why he only pitched like, not even 2 innings. Was
well,
that
they,
just
they
like
took him out in the second, and he didn't look great.
yeah,
But I also thought that
yeah, he
was
had a
an
few
insanely
walks.
quick hook,
Yeah.
especially for what unfolded.
I think you give him a little more I think you gotta I think they needed to give him a little more time or a little bit longer of a leash because I mean we talked about it too. I mean, all season, how much they struggle with length from their starting pitching. So why would you shoot yourself in the foot in that way in the last game when it's not necessary? Like, like if this was game 7 of a like ALC NLCS or a World Series, would you be doing that? No, you would be trying to get you'd probably be trying to at least get your starter into the 5th inning unless they like get in some unless he got in like some serious trouble. But
Actually,
yeah,
you know what? This does remind me. In Game 6 last year in LA, he brought Diaz in extra early, and I thought the same thing that night. Like, yeah, we're probably not coming back based on the way this is unfolding, but what if they do? Like,
yeah,
then what are you gonna do? And I didn't understand it that night, and I especially don't understand it today.
yeah, yeah. I think it makes even less sense. I think it makes even less sense today because it's like they brought him in in the 4th inning, and he gets you to through the 4th and 5th to the 6th, and then it's like, all right, yeah, and then it's like, yeah, if they did come back, like, who would you even have to pitch the 9th? I mean, pretty much you pretty much burnt through every viable option as a relief pitcher that you have. So I think you would have had to have gone to a starter at that point, like whether it's McLean, Tong, or and then it's like you're putting it's just poor management all around. It's like, okay, then you're putting like one of your rookies in a position where it's like, hey, bud, this season is on you now. Like, good luck.
Or you do what you did in Milwaukee last year, which is you have Peterson go out there, which last year's David Peterson, sure. The
Yeah,
David
this
Peterson,
year's
the
maybe not
All-Star
so
break,
much.
heavens no.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I think there are a lot of obviously a lot of stretches and a lot of points in the season that you could that I think you could look back on where it's like where it fell apart. I mean, there was obviously the early August West Coast trip that you referred to before. I think that was around the time you texted me or you messaged the Discord or both and said said at that point blank, like, yeah, we're not making the playoffs. And then they had that series where it looked like they were getting it together like at the end of August against like the Phillies, and it's like, okay. And then talking about how the Phillies how the Mets were a team the Phillies would not want to see in the playoffs. And then it seemed like September rolled around. They just never got it going. And, I think, yeah, there are definitely a lot of points where you can look at it. Maybe not a point where I look at it, but, obviously they had their issues with the length from the starters, which taxed the fuck out of their bullpen from day one of the season, really. And it just seems like, obviously, like, you had the three prospects come up, Sproat, Tong, and McLean, and they all looked pretty, they all looked like varying levels of good. I would say, none of them
I
looked
do
bad.
not hold. I mean, I know Sprode and Tong both had hiccups there in September. I do not hold that against them
Yeah,
because for as much as we were clamoring for them to be up, it was because there were no other options. It was, well, you got to try something.
yeah,
The
but
fact that the professional veteran starting pitchers couldn't hold it together made this a necessity. So they shouldn't even have had to have been in this situation. So the fact
yeah,
that it didn't go the way that we wanted to, I can't put that on them.
yeah,
All I can hope for is that they're better for this.
yeah. And I mean, hindsight being 2020, do you think maybe they should have called them up a little sooner. Like if you call them up like 2 to 4 weeks earlier, maybe it's maybe it's like more length that you're getting out of them in those starts. I mean, obviously you don't know what's going to happen, but maybe you get a little bit more out of this team that you're able to scrape away that one or two extra wins out of your, one or two extra wins out of your staff and out of your team. That would have made the difference.
Well, I did see someone bring this up, and it's, for all the counter arguments of like, hey, maybe they needed that time in the minors to refine their, their stuff and work through situations that they wouldn't have had to in the major leagues, or they wouldn't have had the opportunity. Look how many games in May, June, and July that they were punting just for, we'll just have Justin Hagenman start this game, or we'll have Zach Pop come in the second inning. Like, how many games did they just piss away? Just be like, whatever, we already won 2 in this series, or, well, we're already behind early, whatever. There were too many games that they took for granted with the pitching staff. And, I mean, there's a nature-nurture thing there where it's, hey, yeah, and I know the pitchers have talked about, like, I needed that time. I think maybe they might be doing their part and not trying to blow it up to be like, hey, yeah, you should have called me up earlier.
Yeah.
They're not going to rock the boat like that. But I think part of it was the inaction of this.
They did.
I think there's inaction on the part of management. And I'm not one of these people that thinks Stearns is a con man or whatnot, but I think one of the biggest mistakes was they got high on their own supply after last year, where it's, we turned Severino around and we turned Minaya around. We'll just keep getting projects in and it'll work for us, because that's what we did.
Our pitching factory.
And hopefully they learn this offseason, like, go get a guy with some bona fides. Don't,
get
don't get a bunch of supplies and just think it can work.
Yeah. They started enjoying the smell of their own farts a little too much.
Yeah.
With their whole pitching lab, but the pitching lab wasn't labbing this year the way it was last year. And obviously I think that I think that not getting a starter at the deadline, not addressing that at the deadline, I think also was definitely a mistake. There were many times that they could have addressed that. So Stearns definitely deserves some heat too, but I don't think I don't think this is obviously it's a colossal collapse and a colossal failure, but I don't think it's a tear it all down type of situation. Stearns definitely deserves some heat, but I don't know if I'd fire him. But I think Mendoza.
I mean, I wouldn't.
Mendoza definitely, I think, needs to go. And they have fired Mickey Callaway, Buck Showalter. Carlos Beltran was the manager for like 6 days, and then Trash Can Gate came out, so they had to fire him.
We were the only team that got consequences from that. I might add.
Who's the one between? There's one I'm forgetting.
Your third base coach.
Luis
Rojas.
Yes, Luis Rojas. Yeah, so between Buck Showalter, Luis Rojas. That's right, because Showalter got fired in 2022, right? Or 2023.
Well, they didn't fire him after the playoff season. It was the next year when we were there.
That's right. Yeah, so Showalter got fired in 2023, and I think it was justified when he got fired. I think you could have, I think every manager they fired, it was justifiable. Like maybe you could have given Luis Rojas another year or two, but what did he really have to work with at that point? But
he had to come in during a COVID season, and I know they had interviewed him before they hired Beltran. It wouldn't shock me if he got another.
He was probably like their second favorite, or he was like their favorite available candidate after they hired Beltran. So they were probably just like, all right, like let's just get this guy up, because what else are we going to do on this short of notice?
He had to manage the 2 COVID affected seasons. Like, if you do a bad job, I'm not going to say that's a reflection of you professionally. Like,
so I'd give him. Yeah, I'd definitely give him a little grace. But obviously those seasons didn't go well. But at least 2 out of those 3, you make you can make a very solid case for why it made sense to fire them. And I think that there's a very solid case, and I think it's easier to not be pro Mendoza at this point than it is to be a Mendoza defender if you're a New York Mets fan.
I wouldn't even be shocked if Mendoza gets maybe the short leash that Willie Randolph did going into 08, where it's, all right, hey, look, we know you just got us really close the year before, so we're not going to run you off on this. But if it gets funny early on, it's your ass. It would
Yeah,
not.
yeah. I was gonna say if they don't fire him, he definitely is on the hottest seat going into next year. Like he
For
could
sure.
be first manager fired if usually the Mets are pretty good in April, but if they come out the gate slow, then he could definitely be fired. But I wouldn't waste I wouldn't waste any time. I'd probably just fire him right now.
I mean, they can leave Hefner, Chavez, and Barnes all on the tarmac in Miami tonight. Let me like I said, I don't blame the offense for what has happened, but also they could have been that offense had success in spite of those two.
Yeah,
and Jeremy
the offense did have success in spite of Eric Chavez for sure, but I also think that they're probably the ones who should go, because even if you don't blame the offense, I think that the bottom half of your lineup with a better hitting coach could have had better results.
Yeah, it's certainly understandable, and I do have an immediate candidate to fix that. Is look at what happened to Brett Beatty when he went down, came back up. Look at Francisco Alvarez this season when he went down, came back up. I know it wasn't a great year for Mark Vientos, but we saw what happened with him when he went down and came back up. They may need to just hire the AAA hitting coach.
Yeah, that could be a quick fix. Just have the AAA hitting coach.
Because I got to tell you, if the Alvarez we saw post demotion or post rejoining the team, if you could just keep that Alvarez in the lineup for next year, and if Brett Beatty's able to put together something close to what he was for most of the second half this year, that now obviously the big thing is Pete Alonso also said after the game he's opting out. That's a discussion for another time.
He already opted out. I think he'll be back.
So do I. So if you keep that big four of Soto, Lindor, Alonso, Nimmo, and you get this Francisco Alvarez, this Brett Beatty, and hopefully the Mark Vientos we saw in August can find its way back next year. But all of a sudden that's two more bats to your lineup that makes you much more dangerous. I still firmly believe Carson Bench will be the opening day center fielder when opening day 26 rolls around. If not, let it be Tyrone Taylor, Cedric Mullins. To quote The Simpsons, I don't recall saying good luck.
Yeah.
Ryan Stanek, I also don't recall saying good luck.
Yeah, they can both get the fuck out. Yeah, there's gonna be some there'll be some roster turnover, I'm sure. Obviously we'll get that
worth making. If I think, and I know we've talked about this on the show, but if you can package something with Jeff McNeil to go get a proven starting pitcher that is a guy that can be in your top two in the rotation, that might be worth exploring.
Yeah. It's time to stop being cheap with the pitching.
Yes.
You went all in, you went all in on your lineup, with
and I'm not even saying go pay $400 million for Skubal next year. I'm not saying that.
Yeah, you don't even necessarily have to do that.
You can improve your rotation without breaking the bank and yet still have a meaningful effort towards that. You can be creative in making a trade, or maybe there's a guy that you think is undervalued but is
hit up the Guardians. They always got pitchers coming up, and they've always got pitchers that become available.
Well, and we saw it today. I know I've sung his praises on this show before, but look what Edward Cabrera did today against the Mets.
Yeah,
that's a guy I'd be willing to go get.
Yeah. It is kind of wild that the Marlins actually like rescheduled pitchers starts just for this series when they technically weren't dead yet, the prior series.
It's funny. Well, it's not funny because of what's going to happen tomorrow, but I work with 2 actual Marlins fans.
Oh man.
I want to die. But
Yeah.
when we were setting
Yeah,
up at work
this is what you
yesterday,
need a sick day for.
we were setting up at work, and he's like, I watched the condensed version of the game from Friday night, and he's like, man, we played with more energy than we did in the Phillies series when we still had a shot. I'm like, yeah, because this is what you do. This is your World
This
Series.
is what you guys play for. Yeah, and like
they literally took a picture in front of the dugout afterwards, like they won something.
Yeah. Oh man, that's.
I know that's going to sound like sour grapeful. Like it'd be one thing if they had been 30 out and did that. It's like you could have been in the playoffs. You could have been the Reds. You decided to not
you were
go up
right
against
there.
the Phillies.
Yeah. So it's pretty embarrassing, that type of behavior when you were right there down to the last week of the
Question that I have asked since 2007: have they considered playing this way against, the rest of the league?
Yeah, I think the problem, like I think it's like they only seem to get up for the Mets and the Yankees, because that's the only times when their stadium is full. Outside of that, and maybe opening day, those are the only
Also,
times
I had to watch that game on mute. The only way I was able to watch that game was if I watched the
Marlins
FanDuel Florida
broadcast.
broadcast, because I can't get Gary, Keith, and Ron on MLB TV because it's blacked out since it's in Florida.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I'll be damned if I have to listen to that while they end our season.
Yeah, definitely got to have some. Definitely have to have some tunes on.
I had the Sad Boy mixtape going.
Yeah, rightfully so. I'm sure it hit. You did miss Gary. Gary had a pretty good send off, as the game-ending double play happened. I forget the exact quote, but he was like, and the Mets steady collapse over the last 3 months.
The slow motion. Yeah,
the slow motion collapse is now complete. Yeah. But yeah, for them to act that way is kind of crazy. I think part of the problem too, like with the way Mendoza managed this last game, is he was acting, he was managing as if it was Game 7 of the World Series, and obviously it is a win or go home game, and obviously the Reds on the other side, you don't really know what's going on in that game, but I'm sure at a certain point they probably were aware, like, oh yeah, the Reds lost because it's right there on the scoreboard. Like, how do you not see it? So he was managing like it was Game 7 of the World Series, and obviously the Marlins acted like they won Game 7 of the World Series by the way they acted after they won the game. But I think maybe the problem is that the Marlins were managing it and just approaching it like it was just another game, So they actually
go as far as he could.
Yeah, they let Cabrera go 5, So like it's one thing to manage a game like that when it's like a win or go home game for both teams and it's like a chess match. But if you're doing that when they're kind of just letting their starter go, go at least 5 or 6, and you're just playing chess against yourself. And if you're playing chess against yourself, you're not going to win.
Yeah, it really comes down to one of two things, and we'll never, really get a good explanation of it because, I mean, only Mendoza knows why he was doing what he was doing, but either he panicked or he galaxy brained it, where it's like, man, I'm going to do all these moves. We got a whole plan. We're going to work this out from innings 2 through 9, and it's going to be great. And it just takes one bad inning. Because literally, all 4 runs were in the 4th inning. That was it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. It did come down to one bad inning and one panic move of taking Brooks out.
By the way, I know they had him on a 1-year deal. I would be more than content bringing Brooks Raley back next year. On the list of guys who are exempt from slander on this Met team, Brooks Raley right up there.
Right up there. Yeah. I'd say he's exempt from slander. You really can't. You really can't slander Juan Soto or even Lindor. Even though like Lindor wasn't playing his best game down the stretch, but I don't think
I disagree. His September numbers were really good.
That's true. I know that like August he was. I know in August he was pretty bad.
I'd have to check because it felt like the whole offense had a heat check in August. Because like the big story coming out of August was like these were their best offensive numbers ever in like a bunch of statistical categories, and they still went 11-17. And everyone's like, well, what does that tell you? And it's like if a offense is that good across the board statistically, where they're putting up franchise best for a month, like you really can't have one guy who's like hitting 180. Like that'll drag everybody's numbers down. So
right, yeah, that's
everybody
true.
had to be on a heater.
Yeah, and I mean he did hit. He did hit 3 home runs in the last 5 games. So I retract that statement.
Lindor and Soto, you're fine. Pete's fine. He had a 38 homer season. I mean and I don't. I'll continue to maintain. I don't think he was ever right after he got hit on the hand in that Washington series in June, which ended up being where all of this started.
Yeah, because he hit like one. I think he hit like 141 that month, or maybe it was the month after.
Yeah, like that. Like he was hitting well into the 300s. Like
141 hit in July.
So in that series, Pete gets hit on his hand, and that's when Senga had his injury. Like they were never right from that point onward. I believe that was June 13th. That's when all that went to hell.
Yeah.
That's another thing. If this is why I can't be mad at, like I'll slander the Marlins, but like that's what I do. So like don't lose a home series to the Nationals.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't get swept by the Pirates.
Yeah, don't get swept by the Pirates, and they basically like you could even look back like back in May they took 2 out of 3 against the Pirates, but then they essentially punted the last game. Granted, it was a Skeens game, but they still punted that game. And when you're looking back, like a game in May, like this season just proves, I think, for both teams. Like, I mean, Yankees, we'll get to that, but the difference between making the playoffs or not, or winning your division or not, sometimes like a game in April is it counts just as much as a game in August or September.
Well, and someone else had a really good point about this. I wish I'd remembered who, but it was, I mean, that jarring stat of they were 0-70 trailing after 8. All they had to do was flip one of them.
Yeah, if they flipped, they were 1-69. Yeah,
that is damning. That not one time you had a 9th inning rally in you. That's jarring.
Yeah, it's like what happened. Like they had all the 9th inning rallies last year.
Oh yeah,
and obviously, like you probably didn't expect as many, but to have 0 is definitely baffling. I mean, we talk a lot about how baseball, it's a game of numbers. It's probably when you're talking about sports, I think baseball is the most numbers oriented game there is. It has there's the most data available and all that. So you always talk about if something is like overly egregious, it's going to regress back to the mean. But for it to just defy the odds and regress to 0 is insane.
I guarantee you, Chris, you can clip this and we might have to come back and use this in April of next year. But with our luck, they will have a 9th inning comeback on opening day next year. I'll be like, well, of course, the first game after 2025, they have a comeback in the 9th after trailing after 8.
Do the Mets open 2026 at home?
Yes, it's against the Pirates.
That's right. They're gonna walk off the Pirates on opening day, and they'll be trailing.
Touch myself.
They'll be trailing 1-0 in the 9th inning after Skeens pitched 8 shutout innings, and they will hit. Lindor will walk, and then Soto will hit a walk-off 2-run home run. You heard it here first. Against Dennis Santana, if he's still there.
But I think we'll have plenty of more time in the offseason to discuss who goes where and who did what. One of us still has the season to play for, so I leave the floor to you.
All right, yeah. Pour one out for the 2025 Mets. We hardly knew he. But yeah, the Yankees finished the season with 8 straight wins, I think, or 2 straight sweeps, and they unfortunately not enough to unfortunately it was not enough to win the division. Because we lost too many games to the Blue Jays in July, so they had the tiebreaker over us, and the Tampa Bay Rays laid down. The Tampa Bay Rays laid down and died in the last series against Toronto. So we will be facing the Red Sox in the wild card series this week. Obviously, bit of a bummer that the Rays just laid down and died, and that they didn't want to show up. That's some thanks for us letting you use our stadium. That eviction notice will be in the mail shortly.
And 14 years to the day that you guys let them come back in the last game of the season to get the wild card over the Red Sox. Talk about not having a good memory.
That's right. Yeah. So yeah, thanks for nothing, Tampa Bay. But in all seriousness, it's our own fault that we did not win the division. We talking about games throughout talking about dumb losses throughout a season, and how a game in April counts just as much as a game on September 28th. But I mean, the second Sunday of the season, we got walked off by Tommy Pham. We took 2 out of 3 that series, but you get walked off by Tommy Pham. I'm pretty sure IKF had a hit in that 10th or 11th inning of that miserably cold day in Pittsburgh. But you look back at that, or we ourselves had our problems in Miami, where we could not win a single game against the Marlins. So you can look back at times like that, or just forgetting how to play baseball for most of June and July. There's plenty of points in the season that you can look at, and because obviously that's the difference between we're playing the Red Sox this week, or we're the number 1 seed in the American League, and the AL runs through us. But we'll we tried doing it the easy way last year, and we got there. So we'll just have to do it the slightly harder way this year. So we will be facing the Red Sox. I believe it'll probably be Fried versus Crochet in game 1. And then I think we'll probably have Rodon versus, I would assume, Brian Bello in game 2. And then game 3, Cam Schlittler probably versus whoever. But yeah,
I would have to say, if you win the Crochet game, that feels like the series.
Yeah. Winning game 1 would be huge, and I wouldn't even say I mean, Crochet is that good that it would probably feel like stealing a game, but I kind of feel like we have to win game 1.
Well, because it has that double effect of, not only are you up 1-0, but if you're the Red Sox and you lose that game, you think, man, we had our ace. This was the guy that we got specifically to get us to the playoffs. He was great all year. I mean, I think he had decent numbers against you guys.
Oh yeah, we couldn't hit him.
You beat him. That's got to be demoralizing.
Yeah. So yeah, we really got to find a way to out. Max Fried needs to nut up. He needs to go band for band with Garrett Crochet, and we need to find a way to hit that guy. And I think if we could do that, then we win the series, and I think we're on to Toronto if we do that. If we don't, then I don't know. It's going to be an uphill battle.
I can't imagine the scene if we have a game 3 on Thursday night and Aroldis Chapman has to come into a situation where the game's not decided.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
And or if he's coming in to close out the game. Because of course this is, we never, obviously we've never felt great about, we never felt great about we never felt like the game is over when Chapman came out as our closer. It was always kind of like, all right, like which Chapman are we going to get? Like if we're getting good Chapman, then this will be, this will be quick work. If not, then we're probably going to lose this game. But we haven't really seen the bad Chapman for the Red Sox this year. This is like arguably maybe his best season, or maybe his best season since he was in Cincinnati.
I mean, have we talked about? Did you see the story of what Chapman's big adjustment was this year?
No, I don't think we discussed it.
So I think it was Connor Wong who did this. Talked about how important the pitch comm is with Chapman, where he'll go to the whatever that thing is that you have on your wrist, and he'll punch in inside fastball, low and away slider, and they've said that like most guys with Chapman with pretty much everyone's just been like, just throw to the glove, and most catchers are just like, just throw it to me, I'll catch it.
Yeah, so they'll just
Chapman basically said this is the first time he's ever like located pitches in his career, which is an insane thing to say in year 16.
Yeah, that is insane, and that honestly explains a lot because before this year, Chapman was so erratic. Like
his walk rate was like 5.
Yeah, and if he didn't have that command to pitch to the glove, then the ball was going all over the place. It would be going over his head, over the catcher's head, over the hitter's head. So that's an interesting that's an interesting tidbit that the pitch comm, aside from I guess just being like convenient and avoiding sign stealing, I guess it does we have at least one case of it actually improving a pitcher's game.
This is like an maybe not an inverse, but it feels very similar to when you hear an athlete being like, yeah, I finally started wearing contacts when I started playing. It's like,
yeah,
the hell were you doing before?
Yeah, or like when Jameis got like LASIK and it was like, oh, like
that didn't work.
You were playing blind this whole time.
I just remember there was that dude on he's on the Ravens now, Tony Jefferson. It's like, man, I should have been wearing glasses my whole career. What was I doing? And someone's like, yeah, what were you doing? And he's like, I was just out there regular.
Yeah, like I was just out there just raw dogging vision.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, the Red Sox obviously have been a tough matchup for the Yankees this year. In every series but the last one, the Red Sox won or got the better of the Yankees. So, to that I say the only thing that matters is the last one and the next one.
Mm-hmm.
So,
it really becomes a, you truly do have to have amnesia. It's like, you have to win today. Forget whatever else happened. You got to win the 9 innings in front of you.
Facts. Yeah, and I think I think it's also an encouraging sign, even though today obviously we win, but obviously it doesn't really matter because the Blue Jays win the division anyway. But we are going into the playoffs hot. I mean, we have a couple of days off, so hopefully they didn't like blow their whole load. But one encouraging thing, we saw that video of Cody Bellinger the other night. I don't know what that was about. I think what was encouraging about today was the fact that Jazz Chisholm did pinch hit for Jose Caballero. So, because he got hit by a pitch yesterday and had to leave the game with like a wrist injury. So you do hope that means that Jazz is okay and will be able to play game 1 because we cannot have Anthony Volpe seeing the field in October. We're just a worse team in all facets when Anthony Volpe is on the field.
And you can't be carrying dead weight like that, where it's that obvious. I mean, and We saw this play out. We've seen this play out in multiple postseasons with the Yankees, with DJ LeMahieu, with Josh Donaldson, and with Alex Verdugo last year. Like, having a guy like that who's out there and is a part of your everyday lineup, it's the old saying in baseball: the game finds those people.
Yeah, you can't hide anyone. The
Yeah,
game,
it's not like basketball where you can
will
switch
find
everyone
you.
off. Like
Yeah,
the game itself is going to bring a moment to them.
yeah, exactly. The game will find you. There'll always be that moment. So yeah, he just needs to be off the field, and Jazz has obviously been an instrumental piece in the Yankees getting as far as they did, and as far as obviously after we lose Soto, the big question becomes like, how are you gonna replicate or replace that production? And obviously the Yankees went the doing it by quantity way of adding a bunch of guys like Cody Bellinger, elevating Trent Grisham, who had a career year,
You replace him
elevating.
in the aggregate.
Yeah. Yeah, replacing him in the aggregate, exactly. Elevating Trent Grisham to the starting lineup after having a career year. Gee, that would have been nice last year. And then, of course, Jazz Chisholm taking a step, having a 30-30 season. And really, I think he definitely like silenced a lot of critics because I think there was like some criticism that he was like too hot and cold. Um, but I feel like he was a lot more consistently good this year. So he was like an instrumental piece in that. And obviously his defense at second base is what kind of made it, what kind of made the argument for letting, for letting Glaber walk kind of make sense. And of course, it would have been nice if they played him at second base sooner in the season. Then maybe we could have, that's another thing where it's like, then we could have won the division if maybe he was just playing second base every day from the beginning and you weren't wasting time with DJ LeMahieu and, whoever the fuck else you were wasting
Yeah, I mean
time with at second base, Oswald Peraza.
the noise. To me, it seemed like died down with Yankee fans because not even so much because of what Jazz's offensive numbers were, but like the fact that he could play the position really well.
Yeah.
And it allowed people to look back and go, oh, yeah, why were we playing a guy who was hobbled and hasn't been a good defender there for a minute? Like, why were they trying to force that? And even just Jazz being, I mean, obviously he's a good defender there, but him just even being competent, I think kind of made the point for itself where it's, okay, yeah, you probably should put that guy at his best position. And that's what he is. He is a good second baseman. Does he have flaws? Sure. But I think this was probably the best version of when you traded for him last year. This is what you hoped you were getting.
Yeah. Yeah. Now that you've seen like what a full season of Jazz Chisholm looks like, and the fact that he is very vocal about the fact that he wants to be a Yankee. Yankees, you got to pay that man.
Yeah.
We'll obviously. I'm hoping we're not having our off-season discussions for at least another month. But you got to. I don't know if Soto wanted to be a Yankee or not. He obviously we were going band for band in the bidding war, and the Mets won the bidding war, and obviously there've been different reports and overanalyzations of body language and things like that as to whether he missed the Yankees or not. But I don't know ultimately if he did. But Jazz Chisholm's making it known that he wants to be here, and he's a big part of this. So you got to take care of him. But that's obviously a bigger discussion for another day. But yeah, I mean, we got our lineup pretty much as healthy as it can be, as long as Jazz is there. So as long as you got Jazz, Judge, Cody, and Giancarlo, and I'll throw Trent Grisham in there doing their thing. Oh, and I can't forget about Ben Rice either. Ben Rice has been on fire this September. Even Austin Wells too. Austin Wells has been a lot better as of late, and he's actually played himself into being a net positive in WAR. He has a 0.1 WAR for the season, and it was probably a negative WAR for most of the season.
Man, Mark Vientos almost beat those charges. He ultimately did not, but so salute to Ben Rice for doing that, or for Austin Wells for doing that.
Yeah. No, Ben Rice is a little a little bit higher in that regard. No one's as high as Cody in the literal regard, though.
Oh, well, of course.
But
well, actually, I disagree. I can't remember if I sent you this the other night, Chris, but I was watching the Dodger game because they were playing the Diamondbacks, and the Diamondbacks were still in it at that point. And they kept zooming in on Blake Snell, and I'm like, has Blake Snell always looked like this? So I just Googled Blake Snell high, and I found a picture of Blake Snell from high school, and I think it's got to be argued. I don't know if anybody's been higher than Blake Snell this whole time. Him and Cody might be going blunt for blunt.
They might be. They very well might be. I do feel like I do kind of feel like I kind of always thought that was just Blake Snell's face. But no, it's definitely a possibility, and definitely something to be studied. I mean, he has played, for whatever it's worth, he has played for like almost every California team at this point. So maybe there's something.
Seattle, so
yeah, so maybe there's maybe there's something to that, but.
You laid out the rotation at the beginning, which, like I said, if you win the Crochet game, you're in good shape because I think the other two matchups favor you, and you've laid out how well the lineup's been doing. I guess maybe one of the biggest things that you could ask for any team going into any series in the postseason is where do you stand with the bullpen? Because I mean, so many series can be won or lost there.
Oh man, where do I stand with the bullpen? I mean, as of right now, I think I got to stand in, a pretty good spot with the bullpen. I would say, I mean, I feel like, and I was actually thinking about this the other day, but like, there isn't really a single bullpen in baseball, like top to bottom, that I truly, truly trust this day and age. Like, there isn't really one that jumps out to me like that's the best bullpen. Like, that bullpen's going to win them playoff games, win them playoff series, win them a championship. And
I would have said San Diego before Adam got hurt. That changes some things.
Yeah, that does definitely change some things. I think on paper, like, our bullpen has the potential to be the best bullpen in baseball when everyone is on their shit. But it seems like it's hard to get everyone on their shit. I mean, I would say, as long as we don't have to see Mark Leiter at any point, that'll be okay. I think what you do is you move Luis Gil to the bullpen, and I think that you don't put Mark Leiter Jr. on your roster, at least not to start. At least not to start the playoffs. So I think that masks a weakness there. Fernando Cruz is very hit or miss. I wouldn't overall, like, if you got to go to Cruz, I'm okay with it. Like, overall, but I wouldn't feel like super confident. But and I think Bednar, as long as he's been pitching the way he has, I'm good with him. I think Devin Williams, since losing the closer role, has he has improved. He has improved slightly. This is still like his worst season, and I still think that. And now you're going to be facing better lineups like Boston's lineup, which even without Rafael Devers, Boston's lineup still seems to not really miss a beat. So, I mean, overall, I do feel pretty good about our bullpen, but it's like very cautious optimism, if that makes sense.
No, I mean, I think it's fair to have. I mean, I always say this, and I feel like most baseball fans would say this, is that, everyone looks at Rivera and goes, oh, well, why can't you just do that? But I think it's realistic that every fan base, you have one or two guys in your bullpen anytime you get this far where you're like, Oh no, no, not that guy. Uh, it's always that way, and
Yeah.
you get burned once or twice. I mean, obviously Rivera notwithstanding, but when you have one or two of those really bad experiences that you never see coming, it kind of scars you to ever think that you're going to get through a playoff series again without an issue. I mean,
Right.
I know that from experience. Like, I know Armando Benitez isn't coming out of the bullpen the next time the Mets are in a playoff series, but that's what I'm going to see.
Yeah. Yeah. You're going
I'm
to
going
always
to
have
see
that.
Aaron Heilman coming out. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. It's
that's
like,
how this works.
yeah, maybe this is how we have to, maybe the way we eradicate the ghost of Chapman smiling after giving up the home run to Altuve in 2019 is we have to make him blow a save against us to truly eradicate that, truly eradicate that ghost. But yeah, I mean, because it's like right now, I mean, Doval's been better lately. Devin Williams slightly better since losing the closer role. Still, if I see him in a big high leverage spot, I am not going to feel good. Right now, Bednar, I'd say, is far and away our best reliever and definitely has been the most reliable since we acquired him. I think he's had like maybe one or two hiccups since coming here, but like I'm always cautiously optimistic with him just because, followed him pretty closely, with his time in Pittsburgh. And, I see what happens when that other shoe drops and it can get, it can get ugly. And, this will be his first time, this will be his first time performing in the playoffs. So, we're going to find out, we're going to find out how much of a gamer David Bednar is this playoffs, if nothing else.
Here's an idea I thought of since you brought that moment up. Now, if you say no, I understand because it takes a lot of self-awareness and introspection and acceptance to do this. But if you thought it could gain you an advantage, especially in a 3-game series, like the margin's that small, but in a 1-run game, 9th inning, Chapman's coming in to close it out. Would you sign off on the idea of everyone in Yankee Stadium wearing a mask of him making that face so that when he comes out to warm up or he's got to face Aaron Judge, he's got 50,000 people looking back at him wearing the expression of the worst moment? Well, he probably thinks Game 7 was worse, which I get, but one of the worst moments of his career staring back at him, and it's the fan base that he let down when he did it. Like, that's some serious psychology to fuck with a guy's head.
Yeah. I don't think I'm above that. It definitely beats the alternative. I think that'd be pretty. I think that'd be a pretty creative way to rattle a reliever too. I mean, we've seen the crowd make fun of Kimbrel.
Oh yeah,
and we've seen we've seen some other examples of a crowd getting to a pitcher. Obviously, eons ago when the Pirates were relevant, they had the Cueto game where they shook him. Yeah. So I think that would be one of the more creative ways. I mean, it's definitely more, creative than like turning your back on a player because he signed somewhere else.
I mean, shit.
Bleacher creatures.
Won a series on the Who's Your Daddy chant.
Yeah, bleacher creatures. If you want a good idea, maybe this is it. Yeah. So I mean, I know that if I had shame, I'd say like, no, don't do that. I think it would be a hard movement to get Yankees fans like fully on board with.
Yeah, I would say this is why it would be. I would understand if Yankee fans would say no to that because it's like, I'm sure there's a lot of Yankee fans that it's still incredibly bitter to swallow, and I get
they
that.
they probably don't want to be reminded of it. I mean, if you wanted to rattle him with either that or or like a still image of like Rajay Davis going yard on him in the World Series. I mean, you could go that route, although he did end up winning the World Series anyway. But it was, I know that it was still like a pretty massive blow to his career and his ego when that happened.
I guess if you really wanted to mess with his head, you could get some old women, put them up on the video board, and they could be dancing, fully clothed, fully clothed. It doesn't have to be sexual.
Yeah.
You ain't get none. You won't get none. And he's just, no.
Yeah, that might be either that or he'll be in like full demon mode and he'll be pitching like 107 miles an hour and he won't be able to hit him. I can see that going either way.
Hey, you got to try everything, you know?
Yeah. You don't know if you don't try. And I mean, if we get to a point where, the series is on the line and he's coming to close us out, I think you got to pull out all the stops at that point. So
I'll never forget when the Red Sox won in 07, Cleveland was up 3-1 and they had game 5 at home and Beckett was pitching game 5 and they had his ex-girlfriend who was a country singer sing the national anthem. And everyone's like, oh, are they trying to mess with his head? And like Cleveland came out immediately after that game. So no, we always had her lined up to like, even if, if the Angels had been the team in this series, we would have had her sing the anthem for game 5. Yeah, just own that. Just own that you wanted to mess with the guy's head. It didn't work. They won that game, but
still. It's like respect it more. If you just wear it. Yeah, that's pretty that's pretty petty and pretty lame that they wouldn't just own it. And I mean, they should own it now. I mean, I think at this point it's like, come on, we all know what you were doing.
Well, I think now it's just tough to own it because they blew a 3-1 lead in that series. So it's like,
now you got,
and then it started that.
now you can't own it, and now it's just, that is an interesting tidbit. I never actually knew that they did that, but fuck Josh Beckett. I don't know if I ever said that on the show, but fuck that guy.
Former Brevard County Manatee legend. I cannot slander him.
Well, I can. I'll slander him enough for both of us. Fuck him.
I will say, I was just telling someone this story the other day. If
I was a Manatee, I would not claim him.
So he pitched here when he was first coming up with the Marlins, like right after he had went number 1, and then in 03 when they won, at that point the Marlins had switched sites. They were training in Jupiter, down by Palm Beach, and that's where their minor league team was now. And we had the Expos affiliate at that point. And he had to come up. He was making a rehab start. He got hurt during that season. And all 3 nights that they were supposed to come up here, we got rained out because it was June in Florida. And that's what happens. But, the time-honored tradition is if you're the major leaguer on rehab, you pay for the team's dinner because it's like you got it made. Right? These guys are just trying to make a buck.
Right. Yeah.
So apparently he remembered his favorite place that he used to eat at when he was just playing here. So he was like, all right, game's canceled. All right, everybody follow me. Let me show you where I used to go around here. And he took everyone to the same place all 3 nights. Apparently this was like a decent restaurant. And he paid for the whole team. I always thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. He did what he was supposed to do in that situation. I'll give him that. He could have been even more of a piece of shit and not.
Yeah, he could have big leagued him.
He could have.
Guys do that.
So, yeah, I'll give him that. But it's still fuck Josh Beckett forever in this house.
Understandable.
But can't worry about Josh Beckett. Got to worry about this series. I mean, how do you see this series going? Like, who do you think ultimately wins it, and in how many games?
I will say Yankees in 2. I do think it appears Fried has been able to, if he hasn't quite found his early season form, he's certainly been able to steer himself out of the skid, so to speak.
Yeah, rabies Fried.
And in that case, it's not going to be a game where you got to outslug the Red Sox, where it's like, okay, well, Fried doesn't have it. We got to win 7-6. If Fried's been pitching to what he's been to over the past month, you just got to get a couple hits off Crochet, and I think you can win that game. And like I said, I think if you can beat Crochet in game 1, and this is exactly what they brought him here for, I think you break them. And when you do that, I think you take game 2.
Yeah, and this is and Aaron Judge. It's fucking time, buddy. We've we've been doing this song and dance for a long time, and and we'll get to this a little bit more in a few, but no one's going back to bat to you for you more now than Yankee fans. It's time to have a moment in October, and I think there's no better time than just to like maybe right off the bat, just like dick one off a crochet, and that gets that just sends Yankee Stadium into a frenzy, and it rattles him early, and you can take control of that game, and you could take control of the series. That would be great whenever you'd like to show up in the month of October. Don't even flip your calendar at your house. Just pretend it's still a different month. Like, I don't want this getting in your head. But yeah, it's time for Aaron Judge to perform in the playoffs. That has been the one thing missing from his illustrious career. I think the Yankees will win this series as well, but I think that it will be. I'm a little less optimistic. I think it'll be Yankees in 3, and I think we might even win the crochet game and end up dropping like the next game, and then winning the clincher in game 3.
Wow, okay, that's bold.
Yeah, we'll see. We could clip that. It will either age terribly or poorly, like everything.
I won't do
Yeah. Did you want to predict the other wild card series real quick, just for shits and gigs?
that. You got to assume the unpredictable at this time of year. So
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and say that the Tigers beat the Guardians, because everything in the world right now says the Guardians win
The
this year,
Guardians will
given
win.
what's gone. So, like,
Yeah.
would it really shock you if the Tigers just flip this thing on its head?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I would I wouldn't be shocked, if you're expecting the unexpected, but I'd probably go Guards in 3. I think Guards in 3, Dodgers in 2. I know we're expecting the unexpected, but
No, that's fair.
not going that far. I think that Miguel Andujar being your cleanup hitter will catch up to you eventually.
I saw someone point out the Reds finished 26-28. This wasn't even like, the 2022 Braves got
Got
impossibly
it.
hot and,
Yeah,
hey,
they
what do
they
we do?
backed in.
Yeah, the Reds didn't even do that.
So
Or, like,
watch them.
the thing that always gets lost with 2007, the Mets probably should have just had the wild card, except the Rockies went insane.
Yeah.
Like basically the Rockies got hot as soon as the Mets started to lose the lead. Like, that was it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the Reds just kind of the Reds just kind of the Reds and Mets had a mid off, and they had like it was basically like neither of us really want this, and the Reds back themselves into a spot. So I mean, if they had a better matchup for them than the Dodgers, then I would be like, what, maybe this team can make a run, but I don't see them winning a game against the Dodgers. And then I think
I didn't think we were either, by the way, for the record.
yeah.
I'm not acting like some sort of World Series run got stopped here. We probably go out in 2 as well. So
Yeah, he just wanted to avoid the whole Marlins regular season PTSD.
yeah.
For Cubs Padres, this one I feel like might be the biggest coin flip of them all, to be honest with you. But I'm gonna go Cubs in 3.
I would have agreed with you on it being a coin flip, but the big thing is Cade Horton went on the IL this weekend. That's why he left the game early the other night. He had some sort of back issue, and then late on Friday they said they're putting him on the IL. So that's the Cubs losing the guy who's been their best starter really since he came up, which was sometime in May. I mean, I know Shota's been really good. I know they've got some other arms in there. I mean, I know Matt Boyd's had a career renaissance. But Cade Horton's probably going to win Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
And he probably would have been their game 1 starter, and now he's out. And they're also missing their closer. Palencia has been out, and I don't think he's coming back.
Yeah, so they're a little depleted. I might go Padres in 3, actually.
I mean, and shit, the Cubs just lost 2 or 3 to us, and they still had something to play for. So,
Yeah,
what can you really say there?
So, I mean, they're kind of also backing. They're also kind of like. I mean, they've had a playoff spot clinched a little longer, but they're also kind of backing in. So,
Yeah,
you know what? Maybe they will. Yeah, maybe they will win. If we're expecting the unexpected, I mean, I truly don't know what to expect. And I've been, flip flopkins in here a little bit, but I'm gonna final answer Cubs in 3.
ooh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the big thing is basically is how quickly can Kyle Tucker get back up to speed, because they just activated him. If he starts hitting like Kyle Tucker before he picked up the injury, not even before they sat him, because they basically played him for a month with that thing.
Yeah.
If we get early season Kyle Tucker, that changes a lot of things.
That does. Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, that's the thing about October baseball is everyone's slate is kind of wiped clean. So it's like new beginnings for everyone. So you could very well see that Kyle Tucker. I mean, he's performed in the playoffs before, so he's the moment's not too big for him. Yeah, so those are my picks. Who do you have? So who do you have winning Padres Cubs?
I'm gonna go Padres in 2.
Padres in 2.
The Padres built their bullpen for exactly this moment.
Yep.
The starting pitching doesn't inspire me. Their offensive numbers aren't nearly as good as you would think, but they constructed their roster and their pitching staff for exactly this. So this is the time. This is why you got Mason Miller. This is why you added those guys, and this is where you show it.
Yeah. Yeah, this is indeed where you, why you constructed your bullpen the way you did. Obviously, it took a hit losing Jason Adam, but, it should still, in theory, it should still be, good enough to, win a playoff series. So we'll see what happens. You want to we'll close the show with 2025 regular season awards.
Yeah, what do you want to start with?
So I'm gonna save the best one for last because I think most of them we can probably just run through. I don't really see too many disagreements up and down the board. I mean, like we can both probably agree that the NL Cy Young is Paul Skeens.
Correct.
I think that we both agree the AL Cy Young is Tariq Skubal.
Even given what's happened to the Tigers, yes, I would agree with that.
Yeah, I think as far as I think as far as the rookie of the year, I guess it's rookie of the year is a little closer, but I think the AL rookie of the year is I think it's Kurtz. I don't think there's really like much of a close second to Nick Kurtz for that.
To hit 34 home runs, I believe it was, in less than a calendar year after you were drafted is insane. So yeah, he's got my stamp.
Yeah. I think Cade Horton is the favorite for rookie of the year, and I probably would stick with Cade Horton, but I would also, I'd also listen to arguments on like Drake Baldwin or Caleb Durbin.
Drake Baldwin was pretty good. And like I said, it's kind of amazing that the Braves are going to have that luck that, Sean Murphy kind of turned back into more of the hitter that he was in Oakland. And they're not going to have to worry about it because they have Drake Baldwin. But like I've said, Baldwin or Cade Horton's basically been the Cubs' best starter since he came up. And, you have to ask, where would they be if he's not in the rotation doing what he did? The Cubs could have easily just sat and bided their time. And that's kind of made all the difference in the world because it does make you think, what if the Mets get 3 more starts out of Nolan McLean? What would that have done? So for Cade Horton to go in there and be a genuine difference maker for a playoff team, and not even, in the narrative sense, but you look at his numbers and start by start,
yeah,
Cade Horton was fantastic, right up until now. And the only reason he didn't go further was because he had a back injury. So yeah, I would give NL Rookie of the Year to Cade Horton.
Yeah, I agree there. So yeah, all in agreement on the Cy Youngs and Rookies of the Year. NL MVP. I would listen to arguments on Schwarber, but I think it's Ohtani.
I get why people would say Kyle Schwarber. I think I said in the Discord, I would still be shocked, but I don't think it's a non-zero possibility. Like, I would say there's about a 20% chance that Schwarber does get it strictly on voter fatigue. But, like, I know Ohtani didn't do 50-50 this year. He had more home runs this year, and he pitched.
Yeah.
And not even, 8 innings. Like, they did stretch him out. Hey, yo.
They're
putting him now in a position where he's probably going to start playoff games now. So, it wasn't like 2 innings here, 2 innings there. Like, they built him up. So
they did build him up. And once he got stretched out, he pitched pretty well. He wasn't pitching great when he first started pitching.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I would I think you can make a case for either of them, but I would take Ohtani. I would take Ohtani over Schwarber. Last, certainly not least, but obviously this is probably the hottest topic of debate. If you're a baseball fan and you're remotely online, you've definitely seen on whatever timelines or whatever social media different arguments. The American League MVP. I might be biased. I'm definitely biased, but I think I have pretty good arguments for it. The AL MVP is Aaron Judge. It should be Aaron Judge. And let me preface this by saying that Cal Raleigh did have an amazing season. And everything I'm about to say is not to discredit Cal Raleigh. He had an incredible season. He finished with, I think, what did he finish with? 61 home runs.
Mm-hmm.
He finished with 61 home runs. He played elite defense as a catcher, managed the whole pitching staff, was instrumental in, getting the Mariners to their first division title in almost 25 years. But Aaron Judge is the MVP. Aaron Judge's OPS is 200 points higher than Cal Raleigh's. His batting average is like almost 100 point higher. He has a higher B WAR. He has a higher F WAR. He has a higher CDEFG WAR. I'm pretty sure he has a higher defensive WAR than Raleigh too. I think that, I know that there are arguments about like what the MVP award means. And, I know that people will always like to make the argument of like, well, who's more valuable to their team? Like, if you take Cal Raleigh off the Mariners, where are they versus where are the Yankees if you get rid of Aaron Judge? And I know that was a topic of discussion when it was between Ohtani and Lindor last year. And, obviously the argument last year was that Lindor was playing the field at, I think if catcher is the hardest position to play in baseball, I think we could both agree that shortstop is the second hardest position to play in baseball.
Absolutely.
They didn't give it to Lindor. They gave it to the player with the best stats. So I know that people like to make the argument of, what position they play. Cal Raleigh obviously playing the hardest position in baseball. Right field's a lot easier to play than catcher. Although Judge is, I think, one of the elite outfielders or one of the elite right fielders. When he is completely healthy. But I think at the end of the day, I think you got to give it to the best player with the best stats, and I think that Judge. Judge in every other statistical category outside of home runs and RBIs, Judge, I think his numbers blow Raleigh's out of the water. And all the advanced metrics work in Judge's favor too. So for me, I think that Aaron Judge is the clear-cut MVP to me, at least. And I know that for me, I have bigger concerns with Aaron Judge. Instead of I have bigger concerns than just like what a regular season award he's gonna win or not gonna win. I do want to see him win. I'd much rather see him win a World Series MVP than regular season MVP. I'd much rather see him actually perform and show up in the playoffs this year and kind of eradicate those demons, so to speak. But for Yeah, for me, I think I really want Aaron Judge to get this one because I think he was already robbed of one against Altuve, and when they gave that MVP to Altuve, Judge hit more home runs and was better in most statistical categories than Altuve in 2017. But they kind of, I don't know if they just were giving Judge the rookie treatment, like, oh, we'll give you rookie of the year, but we'll give Altuve MVP because he had like higher batting average and he was like more consistent throughout the year. Judge had a pretty big slump that year. So but Judge was already robbed of one MVP. I don't want to see him get robbed of another one, and I think that this is probably the last MVP that Judge is going to win if he does win it before the voter fatigue really sets in. Like I think like this is like actually his last, despite how great he is, I think this is his last chance to win an MVP for a while. He has a higher OPS than Barry Bonds did the year he hit 73 home runs. What are we doing? Aaron Judge is the MVP, and I'll leave the floor to you.
First off, that's a bold call with as far as the MVP window there. To me, all of that I do listen to and I do take fully. I look at, we brought this up last year with Lindor with, well, we got to value defense because that's a part of the game too. And it would be one thing if Cal Raleigh was Mike Piazza and he was just a bat. And it was like, well, he doesn't really frame well and he doesn't really throw guys out. And, does he elevate a pitching staff? Like Cal Raleigh does all those things really well and helps a good staff. I mean, obviously that Mariners staff is talented on its own, but a good catcher can really elevate a staff. A great defensive catcher can do that. People always said that about Yadier Molina, that, yeah, the Cardinals had Carpenter and Wainwright who were, top level talents, but the Cardinals didn't always have, 3, 4, and 5 behind that who were guys that you feared. But when you have a good defensive catcher that can make your 3, 4, and 5 look even better, and the Mariners have that. And for him to, and it's not even as if he's a part-time catcher, like, as Joe Mauer was as his career went on, as Buster Posey was as his career went on. I believe Cal Raleigh caught over 1,000 innings this season. And he did that at a pretty high level. And to do something where he not only set the catcher home run record, he blew by it. Like it's one thing to hit 60 home runs in a season. Like that on its own is an incredible achievement. And that's something that has to always be respected. But to establish that at your position and it be so far ahead of the previous precedent, like this is the best hitting season by a catcher, a power hitting season by a catcher. I mean, I know folks will look at, Johnny Bench's seasons or Pudge Rodriguez's seasons, and I'll listen to those in total. But to have 61 home runs for your team and handle the staff and handle the running game and everything that entails in 2025, because they've changed the rules. It's harder now to throw out runners because of the fact that pitchers can't just throw over infinitely. You've got to be more mindful of that. And he's playing over 1,000 innings at the position. And it wasn't just that, like, he had a good May and June, and that's why his numbers are inflated. Like, he was doing this down the stretch for the Mariners. I think, what was it? They went like 15-2 to close. They ran down the Astros to win the division. So he was excellent in both sides of the game. He was doing it for a team that made the playoffs, and he was a big part of why the Mariners were able to do what they did down the stretch and go and win the division and knock out a dynasty in the process. I think both statistically in terms of offensive value, defensive value, and the narrative, like all of that is in Cal Raleigh's favor, that he did all of these things and he had individual and team success this year. That to me is why I would vote him as AL MVP.
That, it's a compelling argument, and I think you made some salient points there. I would respectfully like to point out that while he was overall very good, a very good hitter from start to finish, he did hit 194 in the month of July and 173 in the month of August. So there was a stretch there where he was definitely not hitting, definitely not hitting as well.
sometimes you see guys get fat on their numbers in April, May, and June, and they can kind of coast from there.
Yeah, and
It's
then
like
they
he
just
started off great, and then he closed well when the Mariners absolutely had to have it. That he did that.
Yeah, no, he did. He did. He came up. He came up big down the stretch for them too. So I will
But that is fair to bring up. That's
certainly give.
also fair to
I'll
counter.
certainly give him that. But yeah, I don't know. To me, I just think to me, I just think it's got to be to me. It's got to be Judge. To me, I just think the overall body of work. I think the overall body of work from Judge. I think I think it's closer. There's a reason why it's such a hot topic of debate because I think it's closer than I think it's closer than a lot of people do realize. But to me, it's to me it's got to be Judge.
Well, it'll
And
be
I mean,
interesting because
like,
everything's that's already been decided today, but we're not going to know for a month and a half.
all the numbers are set in stone for the regular season, and it is a regular season award. So whatever they do in October won't really, it doesn't affect this. But to me, I think it's no disrespect to Cal, and I'm sure they've kept it interesting. It was a very interesting race too. Like if you like I've been keeping up with like the gambling odds of like the AL MVP like for quite a while, like for a few months now, just to kind of see where everything's at. And I remember like when Aaron Judge got hurt, actually was like when Cal Raleigh kind of started to slump, and I think when Judge before Judge got hurt, I think Raleigh was the favorite, and then Judge kind of became the favorite again without playing because Raleigh started to slump. Then like Judge started to run away from it a bit, and then then coming down to like the last week of the season, the odds for both of them were basically even, and then it kind of then it kind of shifted towards Raleigh when he was hitting all those home runs, and now it's kind of shifted back in Judge's favor after this last weekend. So, not ultimately at the end of the day, it's gonna be what what the writers vote. But to me, I think that if we're being consistent and on how we award the award, how it's been awarded for the past decade or even 2 decades, to me, I think it's got to be Judge.
Well, there is one thing I did see this week, and it's that basically every guy who has hit 60 home runs for the first time in their career, the only two that didn't win MVP, were when Babe Ruth did it for the first time. It said he was ineligible for the MVP. I'd almost have to look to see if they were handing that out at the time. It was one of the years in the 20s. I don't even know if they had an MVP at that point.
Maybe MVP wasn't a thing yet.
And Mark McGwire in 98, because Sosa did it. Sosa won MVP that year. He also hit 60 home runs for the first time. But every other time a guy's reached 60 home runs for the first time in his career, they've won MVP. So there's also that.
All right, well, I guess it's time for a first time for everything. at least if you're me. But yeah, it's a compelling argument either way. For me though, I gotta give it to Judge. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you think in the comments. Who you think should be MVP? Is it Aaron Judge? Is it Cal Raleigh?
Do you have second round?
What's that?
Would the Yankees play the Mariners in the second round, or would that only be the ALCS?
I believe that would only be in the ALCS, yeah, because the winner of Yankees-Red Sox will play the Blue Jays. The winner of Tigers Guards plays the Mariners. So, we would have to get to the ALCS, and they would have to get to the ALCS as well. For
second year in a row, the LCS would be a custody of the MVP match.
Yeah. You could, like that custody of what was that kid's name? They had the ladder. Yeah.
Who's now a ref? Who's now he's a star in the WWE, which makes it even funnier.
Yeah. He's he's ascended beyond custody, I guess you could say. So yeah, hopefully that would be sick if we get that matchup, and hopefully hopefully Aaron Judge can ascend beyond custody and get the MVP and more. But yeah, let us know what you guys think. Who should be the MVP? Let us know what you think about the Mets collapsing. Let us know if you're a Yankee fan, how you're feeling about this upcoming series. Let us know about everything. Any topics you want to see us discuss. Just make sure you rate, review, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Subscribe to the Middle Initial Podcast, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.
See you.